So let's let the tour begin. And if you hear some noise in the background, somebody has gathered up all of her toys and is ready to go in and join us. So join Lady Girl and I as we go into my new sewing room. So the first thing you'll notice is the mess. I downsized from a, 30 by 30 sewing room into what I have now, which is about a 10 by 10 bedroom. So I've got a lot of things stuffed in. We've been working on a lot of projects, and there's a lot of projects left to do. So the first thing you'll notice is I have these IKEA shelves. I've had them for many years, and I have arranged all of my fabrics on here, or most of my fabrics on here, in color order. They are all wrapped on comic board boards and then stacked to make them easy to come off the shelves. So let's move over to some of the fabric and I'll show you what I mean. So let's take this one for instance. I can easily pull this off the shelf without disturbing any of the other fabrics that are on the shelf. I'm going to bring it over here. And if you'll look in the center of the stack is a comic book board. I buy them in quantity on Amazon, and when I get new fabric, I wrap them around it, and that's how I sort my fabric. You'll also notice I have various knickknacks on my shelves that I've collected through the years, and I have an obsession with toy sewing machines. So those I display on the top of my shelf. In the section over here, I have my 5-inch squares, my charm packs, my fat quarters, my jelly rolls, and at the bottom you'll see bolts of fabric. And there goes my little helper who has stolen my rug yet again. Yes, there's the guilty party, upset because I took her rug back away from her. So now she's going back to playing with her empty thread spool. So you'll notice here to the side I have my boxes of spools of all their ice cord thread. I have my project bins. The pink bucket is a bucket full of vintage handkerchiefs and lace doilies, all hand embroidered, that I plan on eventually doing a quilt project with. Then I have my, as you see, ideas books and patterns, as well as my vintage white featherweight machine. Moving on, you'll see I have sewing supplies and different notions. I also have my 10-inch squares and my wide backs. The cart you see is a project cart for, I'm working on the Motor Blockheads 6, and those are my fabric selections. You'll see, trying to see, you can see, those are the fat quarters I'm working with some yardage there to the right, and then I'm using the seafoam green as an accent. Then moving around the room, this is my cutting table, which used to be my kitchen table many years ago. And as you see, I've raised it up on bed risers to bring it up to countertop height to make it easier for me to cut for long periods of time. And as I stated, everything's in a mess now. I am currently in the craft show making process. Since I'm a teacher, I use my summers to build up my inventory and make my inventory for my craft shows. So you'll see here on the table, I've got my boxy bags that I'm getting ready to make. I've got a few sorted out, and then I've got my tub here with maybe 50 of them cut out and ready to be put together along with the zippers, but I'm waiting on my iron-in fusible interfacing to come so that I can get that project done. I also have my scrap bin, my patterns, and then various other things here, including my chocolate, that I need when I'm making my things. And that's my current stack of fabric for the craft shows that I'm working with. And then moving around, here is my ironing station. It is a cart that I bought from Michael's with drawers in it, which I have also raised on bed risers to be able to stand for long periods of time again. My ironing surface is a board that I have covered with Insulbrite and batting to give it some cushion, and then I added 2 more layers on here to make a large ironing surface for when I'm doing large pieces of quilts. I also have these small LED lights. I have one here above my ironing station and one here above my cutting station, which I got from Amazon. That helps so much since I only have the one light installed here in the room. And you'll also see there is where I keep my current patterns or patterns that I'm wanting to make soon, my sewing machine clock, and of course my therapy and session banner. Moving around, have my drink cooler. I have a basket with various projects that I'm getting ready to work on. This is a quilt that I have finished quilting that needs to have the edges cut and then the binding put on. I've got a long-term hexie project there that I've been working on, and then continuing to move around. Of course, I've got my fan and my design wall. My design wall is nothing fancy. I'll bring you around to see it a little closer. It is a 2-inch foam core board that I got from Lowe's, and then I wrapped it with flannel that came from a flat sheet that I wrapped around it and then duct taped to the back, which makes it very easy for the blocks will actually stick to the board without any help. But since we are in Virginia and I have to have my fans going, they tend to blow and fall off. So, especially with the 2-inch board, I can just pin them in, and the boards are just sit against the wall. They're not attached in any way. I have 2 of them, one wrapped in blue and one wrapped in white, as you can see. And they're just freestanding there, and I've cut out a spot so that I can actually access my plugs there. Okay, coming on around, I have this wonderful sewing desk, which is way too big for this room. But as I said, my last sewing room was about 30 by 30 in an unfinished basement, and now I'm in about a 10 by 10 bedroom. It has lots of sewing space. I have an insert that's been made just for my sewing machine, so she fits in there. It has the leaf to the back so that I have plenty of room when I'm working on a full-size quilt. It has a drawer here at the side, which I can pull the drawer out, and it has a leaf that sets on top to give me extra room here to the side. But to give me extra walking room to get around to the rest of the room, I've taken it off for now. I also, moving around to this side, there's an extra leaf here that I can lift and make extra room. But again, as you see, if I have it lifted currently, there's no walking space. My sewing machine is a Juki HCL F400 that I absolutely love. I've had her now for about 5 or 6 years. Highly recommend. She's a wonderful sewing machine. The only modification that I have made at all is you'll notice that here behind her, instead of using a regular spool of thread, I use large cones. I buy these instead of the small cones because I do a lot of sewing, especially this time of year with getting things ready for craft shows, and it just makes it so much easier. I even have here in my bobbin boat, you'll see, here are my current bobbins. At one time, I think I have 10 bobbins. I will fill all the bobbins with that off-white thread all at one time, and then I just keep going until I use them all up, and then I fill them back up again. You'll also notice there's this lovely pink polka dotted blanket here on the back of my sewing table. That is Lady Girl's perch. She thinks she's part cat, so she has to sit on my table so that she can see me when I'm sewing, and she likes to help and talk to me. She's also very close so she can watch what I'm doing when I'm standing at my cutting table or my ironing board station. One last look around. So here's Lady Girl on her perch. This is where she usually sits and plays and talks to me or plays with me while I'm trying to sew. Some things that I forgot to say earlier were I do have an extra chair so that I can have a friend sew with me from time to time. And on the end of my cutting table, I added a pegboard, and I use that to hang my rulers on. I also have a bulletin board at the end of my cutting table that I have pictures and mementos on, and I also will sometimes put patterns on there just as I do on this one above my ironing board.